Good morning, beautiful being. It is lovely to see you sitting inside here with the rocks, because while there's a glorious photograph that I took from the top of the hill about 13 minutes ago, it's just a bit too windy to live outside. You just hear lots of wind rumble. So the good thing about that is it means we get to play with rocks. There is never a downside to playing with rocks. Linda, good morning. You know this fact. You're a rockhound too. So here's our first one. This is quartz. White quartz, clearly. It's not transparent. And it was actually, when I saw it on a website, they said, oh, it's calcite. It's like, no, calcite does not grow in hexagonal shapes. It grows in four-sided shapes and other things, but it's not calcite, and I knew that. But it's got these wonderful etchings on the faces, on the faces of the point. So I really like that. I have a few crystals here that have interesting surfaces on them, and this is one of them. And so I just am enjoying, it's like you wonder, what does that say? Is that some kind of language that I should just about be able to recognise and understand? And I guess there's a thing about the natural fractals and the way things grow, which is very familiar to us, even though, it's not a language, it's not a thing, it's the innate structure and order of the universe, and we see it and we recognise it, even though we can't say, oh, it's that. Jennifer, good morning, beautiful being. It is lovely to see you, lovely to have you with us. This is peacock ore, which I should know what sort of ore that is. I think no, I don't know. It's called peacock ore. And it starts off, when I bought this piece, I'm sure it had lots of the bright peacock blue that you can sort of see memories of, but it tends to oxidize and go kind of golden. And these little bits of, I'll see if I can catch the little bits of pink on it. This is the most colourful side. It's quite rainbow coloured, but this one's got a lot of gold on it, and it's just pretty. So it just said, oh, I'm coming on today. No, this is peacock ore. It's quite heavy. It's some kind of metal. I keep thinking it's some form of aluminium, but really I don't know. Yeah, the colour's coming out pretty gold on the camera. Actually, you can see if you look at it in natural light that it's quite pink in places. But anyway, it's a pretty shiny thing, and that's the most important aspect of it. Citrines are kind of quartz, so you'd probably see more of the quartz structure, Jennifer, if we were to see that. Charlotte, it is gorgeous to see you. Good morning. Now, this is obviously a slice through a geode, a quartz geode that didn't have much of a crystalline structure in it because it was solid, and then it's been dyed. And I will admit that when this was given to us some years ago, it was actually given to my husband by a man that was teaching us at the time. I didn't really like it. It's like, oh God, blue, dyed, really? I like my crystals natural, but it kind of grew on me, and I can feel it as I'm seeing it and watching it. This really is pretty much a portal stone. And I hesitate to say that because, we look at it and go, oh, there's something special about the stone. I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that these shapes, it's construction. It does something, what we see, we interpret. And so you see this and you think, oh, it's like a portal, it's like stuff coming through. And energetically it's pretty powerful too. But really, I think it's us that create the power of these things. And look, the light comes through it. I can turn it. There you are, so the light comes through. It's just beautiful. I think it helps us connect with the divinity and the portal and the connection, everything that's in us, Jennifer. That's why I'm kind of reluctant to assign powers to crystals or to say, this stone will do this for you. It's like, no, you do that for you. And I'm a bit sort of soapboxy about that because I don't like to give my power away. And I would prefer that none of us did that, each to their own. So, today, I want to talk about this phenomenon that happens, and it does happen, and I've noticed it in myself, and I see it in others, where you're moving along with a process of change, whatever that is, and you have, to some degree, envisioned and imagined and started to move into a new state of being, a new self, a new I want to be like this. Kim, it's great to see you. Purple hearts lady, yay. And you go along and you flip-flop, right? We all know about the flip-flop that happens, like, oh, I'm this person now, and the next minute I'm not. And, you know, you have a lot of choosing to do when you're starting to move into a new state of being. And then you start to master yourself and you get more familiar with the state of being you want to inhabit and the kind of person you want to be and the way you want to think and talk and, you know, and feel. Let's not leave out the feelings. You get more familiar with that. And it starts to get easier. It's like, okay, this is cool. I'm getting better at this. It's great. Yay, I'm starting to inhabit this self. Woohoo! Or with a physical healing process, right? You, however it is you do it, you begin to create some change. Julian, g'day, gorgeous. And, you know, if you're in the state, because I'm actually healing some stuff with my body. Now, none of it is dramatic and scary, but it's funny how scared I can get about it. Trust me, it's amazing. It's ridiculous. But the model that I work with, which I know I talk about a lot, but just to be brief, you know, what we think, the thoughts that we fire in our brains, when you fire those neurons and they make a connection, you get neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters talk to the hypothalamus talks to the pituitary pours hormones or neuropeptides. Yeah, I remember. The pituitary pours neuropeptides. They go to your different hormonal centers, and the hormonal centers release those chemicals, and then you have a feeling. So the thought leads to a feeling. And, you know, the oft-quoted example, dear Dr. Joe, I'm so grateful to him. You have an insecure, fearful thought. You feel insecure, and then because of how the brain does things by association, the brain goes looking for more fearful thoughts and more things in the environment to feel fearful and insecure about. And that is a loop that we can get stuck in. And that whole process of choosing somebody else that you want to be, who perhaps isn't as scared, and the flip-flop process that I just talked about, is how we start to become somebody else and have a different experience. Now, when you do that, the corresponding change in your thinking means a corresponding change in your feeling and in your chemistry. And that makes changes in the body. I know, I can say this from experience. This is what happens. Sometimes it happens really fast. Most often, it seems to happen incrementally as I change my thinking. Every time I change my thinking, I change my chemistry. I give a new signal to the cells in my body to say, no, don't be the way you've been for the last 43 years. Be this way instead. And, you know, so the flip-flop happens at a cellular level too. And I remember this because it's so powerful for me to remember. That, you know, we think it takes ages to make changes with our mind and our body, right? But here's the thing. I just heard Joe say this the other day. Or was it yesterday? When you learn something, right? You learn a new piece of information. At that moment, you learn a new piece of information. Neurons in your brain, they have to be genetically activated. You learn something new, the gene in the neuron activates, it uncurls, like the DNA unwinds, it makes some proteins, and the neuron reaches out and makes a connection to another neuron in real time. I've seen it happen, pictures, you know, connect. It's about like that, or faster. That's a genetic change that you did by learning something. And so we don't just change things by learning, but, you know, you get the idea. Your thoughts have an instant, really immediate effect on your biology. It's just that if your biology's been programmed into fear, for example, for 40 years, and you've manifested some chronic condition that you've had for 10 years, one different thought is probably not going to immediately change that unless it's such a powerful thought that it completely overrides all the volume and the amplitude and everything else that you've been used to thinking and feeling for all that time. That's how the instantaneous things happen. It's like a lightning bolt or a freight train or a torrent of information just comes in and rewrites everything. That happens. But more often we do it incrementally. So, with a physical process, And you're going along and you're changing your thinking and your feeling and your state of being and your energy and, all that stuff, and you're making biological changes, whether you do it with the model that I use or with another. Sooner or later you think, I'm starting to feel better, good things are happening, I can see a shift, this is great. You might be doing it with supplements, you might be doing it with diet, you might do it with exercise, you might be doing it with positive thinking, whatever you're doing. You will see some progress, and it's cool. And then, apparently, it all starts to go to shit. The lights go out, the curtains come down, and your fear or your anger or your sorrow, your I can't find a partner, I can't make money, whatever it is that you are choosing to become somebody else, is suddenly back there roaring at you like a dragon, like a lion, and it's about to eat you. And you think, what the hell just happened? I am now so scared. I didn't make any change at all. It's just all gone back, right? And that's very easy to feel. The shitstorm arrives. And you think, oh God, I haven't changed at all. All that flip-flop, all that choosing, all that everything, and here I am, and it all looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket. And I had a sort of a thing, and you watched it on Monday. You saw me on Monday with a kind of a fuzzy head and what happened was that over the weekend I made some really powerful changes, and I think my body was reorganizing itself. The matter of me was reorganizing itself to reflect those changes that had happened in my energy. Biology follows energy. So I made a really big shift. I can't even remember what it was because I made another big one today. This is just my life now. My work with Dr. Joe, it's every day something incredible. Every day I overcome some aspect of myself, and because I now have a super highway in my brain about how to do this, it's incredible. It's amazing. But still, on Monday I was just so tired. I hadn't slept particularly badly the night before, but I had a nap in the middle of the day and woke up an hour and a half or 20 minutes later. I've never done that. It was this big reorganisation. I could barely stay awake in the morning. Now, that was mild, okay. But I have listened to many testimonials of people who are doing this process with Dr. Joe's model, but, I'm sure there are others who do it differently. And sooner or later, they come to a place where everything that they have been working to shift, or their greatest fear, whatever it is that they think they've been, moving away from, is suddenly right there in front of them. And there's a dark night of the soul. And there can be more than one, but, whatever. There's a dark night of the soul. And at that point, you're thinking, oh my God, I've got nowhere. But that's the lie. The truth is that you're right up against that brick wall. Because when you started your journey, the brick wall was a long way away and there was all this bush and rubbish and stuff in front of it, and you cleared that away. You really have been moving into the new self you want to be. But now you're nose to nose with the real, the kind of the last ditch attempt of that old self to convince you that it needs to stay alive, that it's real, that it's bigger than you are. And you can't overcome it and just back down, baby, because I want to survive. That's really what's happening when the shitstorm comes up. So for some people, they're going along and their numbers are getting better, their blood tests and scans are improving, and then they get some bad results. It's like, oh, shit, I'm going backwards. Hi, Laura! But no, I've seen this watching these stories, listening to people tell their experience of how they actually did it, recovered from stage 4 cancer, many people now, severe autoimmunities, genetic conditions that just don't go away. And there is this pattern when you start to observe people doing the uncommon, doing amazing stuff, that this is how it works. There is always some degree of a really deep challenge that comes up, and it might be from outside or it might be from inside. But the net effect is the same. Suddenly the monster is there. And the illusion is, oh, I failed. I'm gonna die after all. It's not working. The money's never gonna come. I'll never find somebody. I'll never have a place to live, whatever. When it's actually the moment to hunker down and say, look, I feel like shit. I'm scared. I'm angry, I'm bereft, whatever. That doesn't change the fact that I'm becoming this other person. That's the first thing to realize. It doesn't mean I've failed. It doesn't mean that all of the choices and creating and everything else that I've done has gone to naught. No, it doesn't mean any of that. Remember, this is the old self saying, I don't want to die. Let me live. I want to keep on being. Because remember, if you've been a certain kind of person for 40 years and you want to become a certain other kind of person for the rest of your life, your old self exists in your brain. It exists in your biology. It exists in your hormones. It exists in your genetics. It exists in your energy. It exists in your personality. All of that has to die. Emily, great to see you, honey. And we don't realise that the death process is why change is so hard and why not everybody does this. Because, you've actually got to let the old self die, and sometimes it screams and kicks and roars and really tries to say, no, I know I'm a dinosaur, but I'm alive. But it's the death throes of the old self. And so when this shitstorm blows up, to realise it's okay, I feel like crap, I do not enjoy how I'm feeling, this isn't how I want to be, and it isn't who I am, and it doesn't mean that I've gone backwards, it doesn't mean I've failed. And right in the middle of that, I don't feel good, realising that it doesn't mean you failed, and realising that, okay, man, this is dense. What can I do to shift my state? Now, sometimes you have a couple of hours to go away and go really deep and change yourself from the inside out, right? And that is what I would do if I was in that kind of mess. But sometimes you don't. So you have to come back. You must have some basic tools that you can use on the fly, on the run, in the moment to manage yourself. The basic one that I used for years, now I don't need it because I'm so much more coherent and so much more resilient. I haven't used it for a long time. The really simple thing, oh my God, I'm feeling awful. And you speak the feeling and you speak the feeling and you speak the feeling. Now notice I'm tapping, we've got two halves of the brain. I'm tapping over both halves. And you do this, it's not the same. All this does is it disrupts the electromagnetic energy field that your brain produces all the time. Says, hello, wake up, get coherent, talk to each other, the two sides of the brain, get connected. And if you do this when you're feeling really awful, it can take a little while, can also take only a couple of minutes. And then you breathe in and out, you keep talking because the talking keeps you breathing, and then you tap on your breastbone. Just saying, heart, oh, that feels slightly better, store that please. And you breathe in and out, and you breathe in and out, and you breathe in and out, and you keep talking. And I've shifted feelings very quickly with that. It's a whole bunch of things, but really it's something I ripped out of Body Talk. Forget the whole structure, just do the tapping. Yeah, EFT's great as well, Really simple, really useful tools. Go to the Heart Math Institute. Look that up. They've got a tools archive. Really simple things using awareness of your heart and awareness of your feelings to shift your state quickly. Get some go-to tools, practice them, learn them, use them, get used to using them when the shit's coming down. And don't sweat when the shit's coming down. Just stay the course, remember who you're deciding to be, what you want, what you're on about. If you like, create yourself a mind movie. Okay, I have a mind movie. A mind movie is an advertisement of my future. I have it practically memorized now. I know the soundtrack, I know the slides, I know the words I put on. This really it's a slideshow, and you put in it everything that you want your future to be and feel like. Look it up. I mean, there's people. Hi, Vanessa, great to see you, honey. There's people who have made this into a package of software that you can buy, which I didn't want to invest that kind of money. But if you go to mindmovie, I think .com or .co.au, it's an Australian company. You can get the idea of what a mind movie is. You can create your own. You can remind yourself of who you're being and what you want to experience and how you want to feel. And the thing about a mind movie is if you watch it every day, and I do pretty religiously, morning and evening when I've just woken up and when I'm just going to sleep because the door of the subconscious mind is open, after a while you start to be able to remember how that feels. And the mind movie itself says, oh yeah, I remember how it is to feel inspired and excited and happy and abundant. Hi George, great to see you. I remember this, Oh yeah, right. And you can, if you're really just, it's only 2 minutes, my mind movie is only 2 minutes. If I'm really desperate, I can pick that up and listen to it and watch it and remind myself, oh yeah, this is what I'm about. So we need to have these go-to things to use when the shitstorm comes up. Hi, Annette! As it will. And not to sweat and not to think that the light's never going to come, because it will. It's right on the other side of that darkness, right on the other side of your worst fear is the freedom that you desire. And we just have to stay the course and not take it to mean that we're broken or that we can't do it or it's not happening or we're going to die after all. To keep putting your attention back on possibility when everything around you is saying, no, you can't do that. Yeah, actually, I can. I am infinite and don't you try to convince me otherwise. It's like this determination and the memory comes up from inside us of who we're choosing to be. We just need to kind of break that state enough to begin that process, and then we get stronger at it. So really, that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say today. Doesn't matter what the shitstorm is. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're succeeding. And just keep going. Keep doing the work of choosing who you want to be and inhabiting that state just a teeny tiny bit. Some days it's great. You can get expansive and become that new self and it's awesome. And other days all you can do is just, oh yeah, remember that's who I want to be. Okay, fine. Doesn't mean I'm failing. And just reminding you, because familiarity is everything, Maddie Schaefer, the profile, is going to change to Maddie Schaefer, the page, in the relatively near future. I will tell you, there'll be a moving day live, I promise. But that's happening, so it shouldn't mean much to you, but it's going to mean that I have space to grow, because I have a massive vision. I know why I'm here. Thank you so much for joining me on the journey. And if you want to participate more, well, there's links on the post, or ask me questions. I just love to work with you. Big love. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.